Allastrology family. We're going to take a look at some of the other features on this website, and then at the same time we're also going to take a peek at the chart of the United States. We're going to look a little bit more in depth at it because we're coming up on these eclipses, and we've already felt some of the effects of the eclipse. Recorded a video explaining how that makes sense depending upon degrees and dates in your chart and how they line up with the big eclipse energies that are coming in June. We're going to want to know how it works in our life, in our chart, but also what does it look like for the chart of the United States? How is that going to affect us all as a unit if we live in the States? And for those who don't live in the States, if you have a request for me to do a chart of where you live, well then please comment below. If you're new here, comment your birth digits below. We are a fan of new people. Everybody is heard and understood. And your chart gives us that ability to say that and to be sincere when we say that. We see you energetically on paper. It has given such great knowledge to each of us who've gotten to that point where we know a little bit of something about who we are. And it also takes us on the extra quest for really diving deep into who you are, just not your personality, but down to your soul level. I will attach the link to the first video, which showed newbies how to come to this website and create your own chart. All you have to have is your own birth information. So if you're not into that, just comment below this video and I will do that for you. I will create your chart and you don't have to bother. I understand not everybody has the time or the inclination, and that's absolutely fine. We appreciate your views and your comments. You can support us by doing that, and I am more than happy to reciprocate by giving you information. The chart of the U.S., and we don't touch any of the prior settings that I taught you guys how to set up already, not unless you've already navigated your own stuff and you've already figured all that out. June 5th is the eclipse. One other thing I do want to go down here and show you guys is the orbs. If you don't touch this box, this says a percentage reduce/increase orbs. Typically on astrology charts, most astrologers, there's no cut and dried orb theory. The higher orb that you have, the distance between the sun and Saturn, say the sun is at 3 degrees and Saturn's at 8 degrees. So there's a 5-degree difference between the two. Okay, so we would say that's a 5-degree orb. And some folks feel that you would need to have an 8-degree orb to be able to, when you start feeling the emanations. What happens is that when we ask the chart to draw up and to actually show the aspect lines, it'll show the aspect lines for everything that falls within those parameters. Okay. Now, if you don't touch it, we're using whatever the parameters are on the default setting for the computer. All right, on this website. For some of these things, I've seen it's really, really big. I've seen like 10 or 12-degree orbs. And honestly, I don't normally do orbs that large, personally. I find it in a lot of people's chart, they aren't really aware of something until it's like almost right on top of them. Again, that depends on the native's chart. Not everybody is the same. Some people need to be hit by a Mack truck to realize, the universe is saying, hey, you might want to try this instead. Others, they just need little nudges. So that's what the orb thing is all about. And how you do the positive and the negative and the reduce or the increase, you want to put a percentage in. So if I go ahead and I put in like 70% there, I think that limits the orbs to 7 degrees. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I bothered to set that because I normally don't ask. I normally ask it to draw no aspect lines because I find the aspect lines so confusing. And when there's that many details, oh my God, you drown in them, you get lost. So for me, taking that off, unticking the aspect lines or ticking the aspect lines helped me to see clearer. And you have to figure that out for yourself. So for this one, I'm actually going to leave them on of the United States chart in relation to the upcoming eclipse. So when you see these lines, okay, I put 70% in there. So let's see what they did. So here's the US. We've got the sign of foreigners, foreign countries, foreign people on the ascendant, Jupiter. And my beliefs on the ascendant. Fascinating. Our homeland. Right? The physical body of the United States. Foreigners. This country is made up of people who are not from here. That's how we appear. We are the melting pot, so to speak. Jupiter, Sagittarius on the ascendant. Descendant, communication, talking, thinking, speaking, media, our neighbors on the descendant, Gemini energy. Duality, I speak out of one side of my mouth and on the other side of my mouth I say something else. But thinking and communicating being a big deal. Whoever the United States keeps open communications with. But look, there's Uranus. Uranus represents shocking communications. Uranus is at 9 degrees. Their descendant's at 1221. When we know what's going on right now, just looking at this, and we know how many planets we have in the month of May going through Gemini, United States chart has Mars there. So let's go ahead and let's pull up the aspects. This wasn't a deep dive into the United States birth chart, but I wanted to dive in just enough so we could have an understanding of what this is going to be looking like. Gemini energy, descendant, okay, who I'm partnered with, squares Pisces energy. The other thing to know about the United States chart is back in history, prior to the 1930s, we had Neptune conjunct Neptune. And now we're having Neptune opposing Neptune, okay? Now, Neptune and Virgo energy is a big deal when we look at Uranus, which is shocks and surprises, and Mars in the United States chart. So this is my significant one-on-one relationships, and siblings is a big deal. Not just siblings, but my neighbors, my local community. This is the eclipse, Mars at 15 degrees. And then we look over here, United States Mars is at 2123. After, in a matter of some days, Mars is going to travel along here and get to 21 degrees, and it'll be conjunct Neptune. And you see, when Mars in the United States chart is conjunct Neptune, it's going to be an exact square. The transiting Mars and Neptune will be an exact square with the United States Mars. And that 21 degree mark is opposing the United States natal Neptune. So that would be a big T-square. And Neptune is a big player because it's at both ends. Remember, Mercury rules Virgo energy, the way I think, the way I communicate. Okay, the details. Neptune is there in the United States chart in their 9th house of their beliefs. Interesting, isn't it? And transiting through the United States chart of thinking, their house of thinking, the 3rd house, they have Pisces there. So very idealistic, okay? Very idealistic, almost dreamy ideas, or the ideas that people have who come to America, the land of the free, the golden land of opportunity, right? Very dreamy, Hollywood, right? Very idealistic. So Mars is going to get to this degree, 21 degrees. We really want to do 2 days in advance, or I should say 2 degrees in advance. So we're going to look at 19 degrees. It's on the 12th of June. On the 12th of June, Mars will be conjunct this Neptune, and it'll be triggering this Mars, Mars and Neptune together, squaring this Mars and squaring this. Interesting how they communicate. Pisces is there. If it's not operating idealistically, you know, it can be almost unrealistic, but we need to recognize this energy when it goes to an unfavorable extreme. It's fanaticism, but it is believing, it is faith, it is surrender. So we've got Mars squaring Mars, Mars conjunct Neptune squaring Mars. This is why United States, because Mars is malefic, and the malefic Mars in the United States chart is in an exact square with Neptune. And Neptune, remember, Gemini energy is hands, fingers. You know, when we talk about the body, we talk, when we speak, it's our lungs, right? You see that Neptune, Virgo, the details. Neptune is the digestive system as well. Neptune is Virgo is our overall physical health too. And so what Neptune does is it makes it very difficult to diagnose your health because Neptune covers up the details. So in the United States chart, Neptune squares Mars, the body. Neptune's covering up the details, doesn't help the United States chart, right? When it comes to their health, the health of their country, the health of their bodies. And we can't ignore Gemini, which is our lungs too. You remember? Gemini's ruler is Mercury. It's also Virgo's ruler. Just by this little video and just by these little things, you could see how we're coming upon times that are going to be more difficult, likely, than they already were. And when I say more difficult, I guess what I'm really saying is they're going to be more trying on certain individuals' bodies. So if there are people who are like, hey, I don't know anybody who's been sick, I would be shocked if by time we get to the end of 2020, anybody still thought that because of this eclipse here. And it's not just the eclipse itself, because I haven't even talked about that. I didn't even point out that the United States chart is conjunct this eclipse. The eclipse is at 15 degrees Sagittarius. I was just talking about the planets in aspect to the United States natal planets, right? The current planets up in the sky according to the United States natal planets. And just looking at the United States natal stuff, you could see Mercury squaring Mercury, Neptune and Mars in there, our body and our thinking, our communication. Neptune hiding the details of how we get healthier, how do we attain better health, how do we maintain better health. And plus Virgo energy is alternative stuff too. You know, this would be like yoga and meditation and herbs, right? Well, if we can't see that, right? Neptune is drugs. Well, now we understand why. And we can also see where, hey, guess what? That might not always be the best option, people. The drug or square the body. And they definitely square the hands, the fingers, and the lungs. Now, this is simply me reading energy, okay? So, eclipse energy, 15 degrees, beliefs. 15 degrees. The opposite side, 15 degrees. So 15 degrees, okay, it's 6 degrees away from that Mars. You see where Venus is going to be? Let's see where the transiting Venus is going to be exactly. So we go to Venus and we go across the way. She's 1248, that's 13 degrees. Venus will be opposing the eclipse. And Venus will be in the house of siblings and partnerships for this chart of the United States and its neighbors. So what's going to be aspecting the United States Uranus? The natal Uranus is over here, all right? It's almost exactly 30 degrees away. Some consider that a semi-sextile, which means not good, not bad, not really doing much of anything. We have, if this is at 8, let's find the square. What would the square be? 90 degrees away. So 30, 60, 90 degrees, right? 90 degrees up here. There's nothing there. Let's go look at Pisces. 30, 60, 90. What do we see? We see what we're seeing now. I didn't even realize this, but the United States is having a Ceres return. And Ceres is being squared. It's not even squared tightly yet. Remember we talked about food shortages, right? Uranus in Gemini. Gemini is local. It's trade, it's business, it's sales. So this is Uranus is shocks and surprises, but it's also innovative ways. And through this hardship, through these shortages, people are going to start using their hands, which Gemini is a gardener, that's for sure. Gemini, Mercury energy, rules Virgo. Virgo is definitely a gardener. Food, grain, squared in the United States chart. Shocks and surprises, Uranus. This is also authority figures. So it'll be interesting to see, because Mars is, right now I'm doing this video in May. It's like May 11th, and Mars is going to be shortly getting to 8 degrees in Pisces. Mars will hit 8 degrees in Pisces on the 25th of May. And that means we will have Mars conjunct Ceres squaring Uranus. All right, because Mars is going to move, you see. By June 5th, Mars is moved off of Ceres. Yes, Ceres is still here. How long does Ceres stay squaring Uranus energy? That's a good question. Ceres at 8 degrees in Pisces. Ceres does go retrograde when it's in Pisces. I did a video on that, a short one. And Ceres stays retrograde for a long time, folks. It begins its retrograde in July, and it stays retrograde all the way until October. Ceres goes all the way back into Aquarius, actually. Once it gets to 28 degrees, look at that, right on the United States moon. Isn't that interesting? Almost right on their moon, 28 degrees. Ceres goes back to here, 28 degrees, and then it goes forward again. And Ceres is going to be in Pisces. That's the only retrograde. But it goes through Pisces, and it takes all the way until February. Until February of 2021. And look at that. Look what happens when it gets there. It's on the IC of the United States. Cardinal energy, a new beginning. Wow. Fascinating. Let's see if that 1 degree has any help in fire. Well, this is at 6 degrees. So as Ceres moves along, it's going to get a nice benefit from the United States North Node. And then as it moves along, after 6 degrees, United States has fire at 1221. So Ceres will have support there, in the U.S.'s chart after 2021, February 2021. And then Ceres will be conjunct the transiting Chiron, which, look, the United States is going to have a Chiron return. Holy crap. We're doing a lot, right? We're going to be making sweeping changes with food. Not surprising, Uranus and Taurus. Okay, so I've dipped into a lot of areas, a lot of possibilities, and I've opened up a lot of stories within the stories just within the United States chart. And so understanding where these energies are in your chart helps you to better understand how you relate, where you fit in if you live in the U.S., like what role you play. I hope this has helped to us plan for some of these energies that are going to be coming. I know there are other things to look at that could be beneficial, but we'll do that on another video. This will be part 1 of the United States chart, and I'll definitely have a part 2 to try to figure out, okay, we just presented some of the problems. Now we're going to see if we can dig up and see some of the solutions and some of the things that are going to help us at this time. All right, so I hope this was put some light upon your path. All Astrology family, take care. Bye.